Developing in southeast Georgia, the mother of this young man shot to death while jogging in a neighborhood near Brunswick wants a judge to make sure his accused killers stay in jail.
It's horrible. It's draining. But at this point, it has to be done.
Ahmaud Arbery's mother spoke just moments ago after leaving the courtroom.
Today, the three men charged with felony murder in Arbery's death went before a judge asking to be released on bond. News4JAX reporter Kelly Wiley just left the courtroom in Glynn County and joins us with an update on the day-long hearing. Kelly.
Yeah, the court just recessed for the day. They're going to resume tomorrow at 10 a.m. Still a lot of big topics, elements on the table that need to be decided on. The big thing here today, the bond, whether or not Travis and Greg McMichael were going to be released on bond, that's not been decided yet. Where we left off in here was the state stating which exhibits they wanted to bring forward, specifically these text messages, these racial text messages that they had notified the court that they thought were relevant to whether or not these two should be released on bond. Where we left off is simply them listing them out, and the defense teams for Greg and Travis McMichael saying whether or not they wanted it to be heard in court. The judge allowing a lot of it in. Some of it he sustained the objections to, but there's a lot that's going to be gone over tomorrow morning that's going to be back on this topic of race and whether or not Travis and Greg McMichael had a history of using racial slurs, of certain attitudes towards people of color. And that's what's going to be discussed at the top of tomorrow. But we did hear the arguments over Travis McMichael getting bond. That was what was taking over the majority of the first part of the hearing, and that's what we've got kind of a wrap up for you right now. Family and friends of Greg and Travis McMichael took the stand today. The father and son are accused of chasing and killing 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery. The wife and mother to the McMichaels said her son Travis has a 4-year-old and hopes he can be released.
Because he loves home, he loves his son, and he will stand up to his responsibility.
Arbery's death made national headlines. Video shows him running through a Satilla Shores neighborhood, the McMichaels nearby in a pickup truck. They told police they thought Arbery was a burglary suspect. The defense for Travis and Greg McMichael paint the picture of two devoted fathers with careers as public servants. But state prosecutors argue the men are a flight risk, facing a federal investigation into civil rights crimes tied to the death of Arbery. During the hearing, the state showing racial text messages from both McMichaels, including multiple exchanges between Travis McMichael and a witness in his bond hearing.
Quote, ha 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 ha, exclamation point, sayonara, you're. Do you remember Travis McMichael texting you about shooting a crackhead with gold teeth and a high point .45? You remember that text exchange?
No, sir, I'm not.
You actually responded to it saying something about Newport and a 40. You remember that?
Arbery's mother in tears over the thought of her son's accused killers walking free.
It was heartbreaking to hear her sit there and say that he was remorseful. But those guys were out for like 74 days. I lived right then in the community. No one reached out and said they were sorry for my loss. And I don't think he was remorseful, none at all.
And tomorrow we are set to hear more of these racial text messages and posts that state prosecutors say they discovered throughout their investigation. There was an interesting moment at one point where the defense, as they were going through these things, and they've already had a chance to look at these text messages and posts that they know are going to be brought up related to their client. At one point, one of the defense attorneys said, as disgusting as it is, what does saying the N-word have to do with flight risk? And they also referenced that Travis McMichael has friends of color. So that was one interesting moment where there was a lot of back and forth between the prosecution and defense attorneys. Again, we're set to hear a lot tomorrow, and we are expecting to be back in the courtroom to give you updates on what we see. Reporting live in Glynn County, Kelly Wiley, Channel 4, the local station.